Hello.
Hey.
So you might be someone that owns a home right now, and your mortgage, your insurance, your taxes are $1,500 a month. So right now your home is costing you $1,500 a month. That's pretty nice. $1,500 a
Yeah.
month, Justin. What you're not maybe thinking about is how much you're actually spending on average a year from those hidden costs of owning a home.
Hmm.
So that's one of the things we're going to talk about today with buying a home. We're going to dive into different topics with buying a home because there's so many, obviously. But we're going to hit a few that we think are important to talk about.
Nice.
So, someone that owns a home and is paying $1,500, according to Zillow, and I'm referencing a Kiplinger magazine, which I checked out from the library recently. Let me show you the cover of this bad boy. Once a month, this magazine comes out, Kiplinger. It's free at your library. And they just hit personal finance that are random things. So when you glance through it, it might be pertinent to your situation. So this one, the title is Don't Overlook the Ongoing Expenses of Owning a Home. And one of the blurbs was this. I'll read it because it's really short. Maintain enough in savings to cover both expected and unexpected costs. Real estate website Zillow recommends keeping from 1 to 4% of the cost of your home in reserve for these expenses.
Mm.
So, for example, if you own a $500,000 home right now, they're recommending Zillow have $5,000 to $20,000 in reserve for expenses that go with owning your home.
Yeah.
So,
And that's anything from like a fridge or stuff that breaks or needs replaced.
so many
Right.
things.
So many
It's
things.
amazing how many things go into a house. I was thinking about it, Reed. Like
Yeah.
carpet. Oh, we have to replace carpet. Yay!
Yay.
There's
Right.
$1,000 or
Yep.
whatever it
Or
could
your
cost.
roof or your driveway.
Yeah, we were talking
Yeah.
off camera. I had to have our driveway replaced because the cement was so bad.
Yep.
And that was several $1,000s saying bye-bye while cement was being poured in our front.
Yep.
front
I've
of our
had the
house.
same opportunity.
Yeah.
What a great time.
So if you average it out over owning a home for 10, 20, 30 years, if Zellow's correct, you're spending a lot more than that $1,500 that I gave earlier as an example to own a home.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, what about like emergency funds, emergency savings? How could that tie into buying a home or having a home?
So when I look at it, I have my emergency fund, and it is for the unexpected, right? If something happens with my car or something happens with my house or my health, that's what my emergency fund is set for. Um, but let's say, for example, I do need to replace my driveway. I'm going to start saving a little bit to build up, so I'm not depleting my emergency
Oh,
fund,
okay.
but I might be able to dabble in there for a little bit of the funds to just get the job done.
Because you can plan for that one.
Because I can plan for that one.
Yeah, that didn't happen
Right.
like overnight, so to speak.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of how I look at it. I know some people say that money, like Zillow, the article there, should be a completely separate account from your emergency fund.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's where, it's still personal finance. What helps you sleep better at night, whether it be that extra $5, $15, $20,000 home only fund, and then your emergency fund if the expenses go above that $5,000 that you have set for your house.
No, I
So
agree. That's a great point. It's whatever works for you because it is your personal finances. But what I like about this is just don't be ignorant that there's not extra cost when you buy a house. Because some of you are
right.
thinking about buying a house maybe and thinking, oh, I'd rather pay a $1,500 mortgage than rent for $1,600 a month.
And that's absolutely true. I mean, if you got people coming in who are used to paying that $1,800 to $2,000 a month, and they can get into a house for 15, it looks good on the surface.
Yes, but there are those hidden costs. So you might still be ahead if you're renting for more than what you would pay for a mortgage.
Yeah.
Because your landlord should pay for a lot of these things. So in a sense, your emergency fund, if you're renting, is better because you never have to replace the roof
Or the carpet.
or the carpet or the AC or the water heater or all these things that a house has that will eventually break down or need to be upgraded or replaced. So I'm a big believer that renting is great for a lot of people. You're not necessarily going backwards if you're smart with your money. I know a big part of our country's history is the American dream of owning a home, having that white picket fence around it.
Right.
But those days, I think, are over, or we just need to think for ourselves and say, hey, how do I want to live my life? I don't need to follow how they say life should be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those, what works best for you, right? I think if it's that opportunity to invest a little bit more, to have a little bit more stocked away, great. That's what works best for you. And if it's part of that is the renting aspect, that's okay.
Yeah,
That's just fine.
it's great. I was looking earlier on a simple savings calculator. You can Google that. Bankrate.com is one of the first ones that show up. And I put in $500 a month at 7% interest for 30 years. So like a 30-year mortgage, I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that for 30 years, because you're renting, and that's kind of your savings of not owning that home, let's imagine, you have close to $600,000 just from that $500.
Yeah.
So at the end, obviously someone owns that home after 30-year mortgage, but now you have $600,000 as a renter, and you can just keep on living your life and using some of that for rent.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to be falling behind financially if you rent. I don't know the exact numbers because it can fluctuate from market to market and situation to situation, but it's not like a waste of money renting if you're smart with some of that extra money.
Right. If you have that system that's in place there where it's like, okay, instead of setting aside money for my home repairs, that set aside home repair money gets put into some investments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the next thing, Justin, I want to talk about, okay, some of you are going to buy a home, and that's great for you. Congratulations. You've been saving up for your down payment, let's say. I'm going to recommend this book. It's 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. If you notice down here, this is the second edition. Well, I just went online and looked up. She has a fourth edition now. So she just keeps updating the book.
Yep.
And gives you really good, relevant information of buying your first home. Because when you go into buying your first home, this is when research matters. Remember back in high school, just when we had to do research projects? You're like, I don't want to research blah, blah, blah for a science class.
That's because we had to use the Dewey Decimal System and
well,
actually
we're not
go
that
to
old,
books and stuff.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the internet. And so.
Well, that research was to get through high school or college. Right. This research is to save you thousands of dollars. So please, please research about buying your own home. Don't just go to the first bank that you live by and say, hey, I need a mortgage. Can you hook me up with a mortgage?
Yeah.
They'll be like, sure, we can hook you up with a mortgage. But if you don't know the basis of a mortgage and don't shop around, you could be out several $1,000s.
So is that question number one?
It should be.
Would ask multiple banks?
Yeah. It's a great book. We'll have it in the notes below. And also, please subscribe. I'm going to throw that in right now.
Nice.
Give us a like. We're trying to help people out. And if you have any suggestions of things you want to hear about, teachers and others, you can put those in the notes below.
Yeah.
But when we refinanced about 12 years ago.
Okay.
And I literally called 5 different mortgage companies.
Nice.
That seems like, wow, you spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a few hours because I researched what the basics are of a mortgage. But by doing that, the 5th or 6th company we called, we saved a lot of money because they had the lowest interest rate, the lowest cost to get into it. So we got a great rate, low cost to get that loan. And it took 10 hours or whatever to research this and understand it. So please research it. Don't just trust your buddy that used someone down the street.
Right. Trust but verify.
Yeah. Because even if we were to refinance today, I wouldn't assume that the best loan is where we're at now. I would still look at 5 or 6 different places.
Yeah.
Here's a quick funny story for you. So when me and my wife bought our first house about 20 years ago, roughly, I asked around, wanted to get advice on how to buy your home. I read some stuff, of course, too. And someone close to me, my mom, I'm going to throw her under the bus a little bit. She said, just get a 30-year loan because that's the best loan. It's safe. It's, 30 years. You have the same payments every month. Just get a 30. I'm like, okay, Mom, I'll think about that. And I told her, this is going to be a starter home. We're planning on living there for a couple of years. We want to build up some equity and move to a more permanent home. So I told her this too. I'll just get a 30-year loan. What she didn't realize is mortgages have changed over the years.
Yeah.
I learned later that there's a really good one for our situation back then, about 20 years ago, called an ARM. So we got a 5-year ARM. And if you don't know what that is, research, please. But it's an adjustable rate mortgage.
Yep.
that we paid a lower interest rate on for up to 5 years. That saved us several $1,000s. So when we sold in about 2.5 years, we had about several $1,000s more than if we would have got a 30-year loan. I would have never learned that if I just trusted one person, my mom, someone you should trust.
Typically,
Yeah,
yes.
typically. I would have never learned what these things called ARMs are. So do your research. Don't just trust one person or one book.
Yeah, do your research, because those arms got a lot of people in trouble during 2008. So do the research.
Do the research. Know your situation, know what exists, and how it fits into your plan.
Yep.
Don't just trust one person or one bank.
Yep.
So wanted to say that. Anything else about buying a home?
Like you had mentioned at the beginning, a lot of people go and overpay, right? They're putting too much of their money into a home. You don't want to be house rich, but no money in your pockets,
Yeah.
right? So don't just go for the payment, right? Because you still want to be able to enjoy your life. So keep that in mind too. Just be careful. Be careful.
Yeah. You don't want the majority of your paycheck going to your mortgage.
Yeah.
So you now can't go to a concert on a weekend because you have to pay your mortgage.
Yeah.
Or go out to dinner with some friends. You want to keep that at the lowest number possible.
Yeah. My thought, right, is like if it's 50% or above on your expenses, right? If my paychecks take 50% of my paycheck is being put to my mortgage, that's way too much. Way too much.
Stick with renting for a while, and
Yeah.
maybe a long while, and that's okay again, because then you can still live life while you're paying your rent and have a good life and save a little bit on the side.
Right.
Maybe you won't, if you want to buy a house, maybe it won't happen until your 30s or 40s. That's fine.
That's
too.
okay.
Yeah, I like that. I would also say that me and Justin talk about the big three. If you can take care of the big three, which is housing, transportation, and food, and keep those costs as low as possible, it's going to free up so much more money for the 3 F's: fun, philanthropy, and your future. So really think about that. How important is that 3-car garage? How important is that 4-bedroom house? Can you actually function and live a good life with a 2-car garage or 2 bedrooms?
Yeah.
Something to think about, because you want to have that, you want to have as much money freed up as possible every month and not tied to a car payments, a mortgage, and eating out 5 times a week. So just throwing that in there, something to think about while you're going through this process.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah, keep them low. And in fact, when we bought this house, Justin, it was a lot less than we could afford.
Nice.
Because of these reasons. And I think, this is a guess, the person that helped us buy the home, the realtor, was like, oh, they'll live here 5 years, and then realize, oh, we can afford so much and we'll buy a bigger house because our payments are so low. Well, we've lived here almost 20 years.
Nice.
So we're content with a small house that we can thankfully pretty easily afford.
The realtors will try to get you into something a little bit more pricey, so just be careful. Know your budget.
Yeah, no, that's your decision, not their decision.
Yep.
Say, I know what I want, and I know what, not that I can afford, but what I want to afford.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So a lot that goes in with homes and houses. Unfortunately, the interest rates are high right now, and a lot of you that are looking now for the first time, let's say, or can't lock in those historic low rates, don't let that frustrate you. There's still a path to getting where you want.
Yeah.
So
you can still do it.
All right. Happy trails to home buying if that's your thing. Cheers.
Bye.